Hey everybody, good afternoon. This is Chris Frew with BioBuzz with another episode of What's the Buzz, our interview series where we talk to ecosystem builders. And to us, these ecosystem builders they're a critical part of the bioeconomy, and they're the people and companies that really enable you as innovators and drug developers to really move your medicines forward and get them to the patients that need them. So there's a whole slew of people that we love to work with in this ecosystem builder space. Today, I'm talking to a good friend of mine who I've known. We are just talking to us better part of a decade or more. Mark Nardone, who's a director and co-founder for BioTRAC. Mark, welcome.
Chris, absolute pleasure to be here. And before we jump into this, kudos to you and your organization. You are the individual that stirs the drink, if you will, in the biotech community. As people approach me for, hey, do you know who's doing what in one specific area? And if I don't know, I always send them to you. You are so well connected, and that's one of the strengths of BioBuzz. You keep the group together and the communication, your events and such. So major props.
Well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, you've been coming to events for a decade that we've been doing, and I've been coming to events that you're hosting too. So it's it's the ecosystem that grows together thrives together. So it's and that's why we do these events, because we win these podcasts, because we want people to know the things that you're doing and the things that we're doing. Before we jump in and dive into all about Mark and what you're doing at BioTrac, I want to make sure I thank our sponsors. Our sponsor all year long for our What's the Buzz podcast is Heffron and Company. So if you don't know Heffron and Company, they're the real ecosystem builder. They're literally building the ecosystem and the companies and the facilities that you're doing your research and manufacturing in. They're a 104-year-old mechanical contractor and service provider, one of the top reputations in the industry, one of the top safety profiles nationwide in their field. Very well regarded and high regarded for the work they do, the services they provide, and their people. And if you've ever met Colin or Tarek or any of their team, you know why that they have such a great reputation. They're just really salt of the earth team, and do incredible work, and are the brand behind a lot of the iconic buildings that you see when you drive up and down I-270. So thank you to Colin and the whole team at Heffron for supporting BioBuzz and our work to help build the community. So Mark, today we're talking about training the scientists behind biotech's biggest innovations. And you can't innovate, right? We can't keep pushing the needle forward in science if we don't have scientists that are have the cutting edge techniques and methods and understanding. And you can't rely on what you got at your PhD program 5, 10, 20 years ago, I'm sure, because things are changing so fast. So I guess that that's a little foreshadowing for what we're going to talk about today. Before we jump in, can you just give us your own introduction? And
Sure.
BioTrac has been a fixture that I've known for many years. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the history of the organization.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chris. I am director, co-founder of BioTrac. We conduct hands-on training workshops for research scientists. We focus on the latest relevant techniques that we feel they will be interested in. And we offer 20 to 25 workshops a year, and we also do contract work with all the segments of biotech. So government research institutions, private industry, biotech, and academic research institutions. We're a unique story. BioTRAC started back in 1985 is a program that my dad and I started together. Dr. Roland Nardone, who was a professor of biology over at Catholic University, an expert in the area of tissue culture, was doing these one-off workshops, hands-on workshops for NIH, for NIDDK and EEO in the late 70s. And as these workshops took place, leadership at the NIH took notice, and they realized that, yes, there is a need for training for the postbacks, for the postdocs on different techniques. And discussions came about, and a formal agreement came about in 1985. They used a mechanism through FAES to contract with our company to go ahead and conduct these programs. So we were in these little shoe boxes over in Building 8, and then we'd have to hold the lectures in the main conference hall of Building 10. And this went on for 2 or 3 years, and we were running 4 or 5 different workshops a year, some of them multiple. So there was tissue culture, there was hybridoma, there was PCR, there was recombinant DNA methodology. And when they saw that, yes, this is really taking legs, they built us a lab in 1989 over in Building 60 in a cloister. They gutted out the basement and built a nice lab. And we always joke a little spiritual intervention necessary to perform good science. A beautiful building. The other half was the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. So a fun place to work. And we started there, and then it took off. And next thing you know, we're 40 years into doing this. We have trained over 19,500 scientists, 1,200 workshops. We've done many specialty programs at the NIH. We ran a Summer Genetics Institute for NINR. We ran a program called the Minority Student Faculty Partnership Program that would provide hands-on training. It was a short 1-week workshop for 3rd and 4th year college students from HBCUs, Hispanic, Native American institutions, so 400 and some students along with their mentors. And this program went on for about 15 years. So we're able to make a difference in many different ways over at NIH.
That's incredible. You know, a lot of good things come out of NIH that impact human health. And you're one of them that impacts it in definitely a directional way. Tell us, so you're not in NIH anymore. So you've, taken the program from NIH to up to Montgomery College in Germantown. So that's an interesting kind of move up the road.
Yeah, we were at NIH for 30 years. And we decided it was time to look for other venues. We were looking for upgrade in facilities and such than the basement of the cloister. And we were directed by the state actually to look at numerous facilities. And one of them was Montgomery College's Bioscience Education Center. And I was, okay, well, let's take a look. And when I went in there, and that's this building, this beautiful building behind me, my jaw hit the ground. I was going, wow, these resources are available here. So I was, touring the labs, and it's like, okay, you have a mock CGMP lab here. You have upstream, downstream. You have industry grade ACTAs. You've got 4 bioreactors. You've got multiple sequencers on site. And then I go to another room and I said, okay, you have a couple flow cytometers. We need to build that out. And the college supported us in being able to do that. We have 5 different flow cytometers and a cell sorter, part of our flow workshop. And then they've supported us throughout smart classrooms, high flex classrooms. So we're able to go ahead and remote participants in our NGS, our bioinformatics workshops, or Zoom in a presenter who might be from around the country, again, to put the best product. During COVID, we went ahead and expanded out one classroom. We've got 9 BSCs in there, 10 research grade microscopes. We have a confocal in there. It's a phenomenal setup. So again, it's been a great environment. I'll have scientists from around the country come on out, and they're from prestigious institutions, and they start looking around going, Mark, we don't have this. Not to source smile and go, yeah, no, I get it. It is pretty amazing. It's the BEC, Bioscience Education Center, is a phenomenal resource for the scientific community.
It's interesting. Infrastructure is one of those things that's so important to a thriving bioeconomy and an ecosystem, right? A biohub. And, you bring something up that very few kind of ecosystems have a Montgomery College that is so well resourced and with the lab and the industry grade, GMP grade experience. And then I think about, all your experience in training 1,500 scientists. Like that's infrastructure too. Like the training and education is kind of like the educational infrastructure that, the knowledge, this is a knowledge economy, so it has to grow on that.
Mhm.
So like, tell me, how do you engage with, you mentioned a couple of things briefly, but how do companies engage with you? Is it like, they just, if they're working on a new project and they're like, hey, I need single cell seq experience, they come to you, or is it like onboarding? Just tell us a little more, like, how exactly do companies and individuals engage with you guys?
Sure. It's really a mix in that regard. And first of all, our attendees, about 70-75% will be MD PhDs, 95% will be active researchers, and it's an even distribution between government, private industry, and academic institutions. Yeah, about 60% come from the DMV, 30% from around the country, and the rest overseas. They're coming to us for many reasons. The upskilling, job and improvement, advancement, if you will. They come to us because their research has taken them in a new direction. It could be funding related, it could be science driven. So, for example, CRISPR came about in 2012, 2013. Well, for the last 14 years, we've trained close to 600 scientists on how to go ahead and do CRISPR experiments. We have a full immersion workshop in that area. And because of this new technique, they can apply it to the research and then advance their science. Sometimes it's resource driven. There could be a reduction in staffing. I've done some workshops in which I look over an audience and there is a lab chief in our flow workshop, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And I know the person, and he goes, "Well, we had budget cuts. We lost 3 individuals, and now I have to go ahead and be knowledgeable on how to do this." So there's many reasons why. But the constant theme is they know the quality of instruction that they're going to receive from us. We have a 95% plus satisfaction rate year in, year out, meaning we ask the scientists, based on your experience, would you take another BioTRAC offer if it was in an area that you were interested in? And over 95% said, yes, we will come back and do that. The level of instructors, these are all mid-level researchers, active researchers, and they're immersed in the area. They're excellent resource persons. They have the ability to communicate effectively. They bring a wealth of information and knowledge. So people know the quality. We've worked with over 300 scientists, as you can imagine, being based at the NIH for 30 years. Our web, our connection, our spider of network is extensive. And it continues to grow, being here at the BEC and the people I interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah, you bring something really important. It's not just about the techniques itself and the information, but like the instructors and how people are learning is so important to, like, I mean, I think about that on the stuff I've learned. So you mentioned the network, but how, like, how are you finding instructors? Are they is it like, do you have instructors that are with you for like multiple years, or does it really depend on the course?
I have quite a few instructors who have stuck with us for 10, 15, 20 years. So that's a testament to the program and the buy-in from these instructors. They understand the importance. And a lot of them, they're why they are compensated. They're not doing it for the money. They are doing it for the interaction with these other researchers. I love being a fly on the wall. Again, getting back, let's say, to our single cell RNA-seq workshop. We'll have 10, 15, 20 scientists in a room, and they are all interested in this technique, but someone could be involved in neuro, another one in cardiomyocytes, another one's interested in cancer research. They're all coming from different directions, but they're interested in the technique. I get a chance to sit back and hear these conversations among the group, but also with the instructors on how they would handle or approach an experimental design, for example. With that workshop, for example, our workshop director and one of the co-instructors is the director of the single cell core for NIH NCI, Dr. Michael Kelly. Give you an idea of the level of quality that we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, you and I've talked about that several times, that the values in the training, but some of the values in the, like when you get everybody in the room and they're all interested in the same thing, that kind of, you know, smaller circle of community that they all build together, and they stick together. And you mentioned before how they, you know, when they go back to their institutions and stuff, they're still staying connected and sharing and staying around that knowledge, and that's part of what you do. You bring these groups together around that. Around these techniques.
Oh, absolutely. We share the class lists with the group. We're a firm believer in keeping the conversations going. First of all, our instructors are resource persons, not just at the time of the workshop, but 3 months, 6 months down the road. If they have a question, you know, go ahead, shoot them an email. This isn't their full-time job. If they don't answer in 2-3 days, chirp them again, but they are happy to spend the time with you. And word will get back to me 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road. Someone did a collaboration with someone else. A paper came out, a grant, a successful grant, either with someone, a cohort in the workshop or with one of our instructors. It's always amazing how you never know where these things lead. I had somebody in a flow workshop, an attendee. 6 months later, I found out he was working in Mike Kelly's lab over at NIH. Wouldn't have happened unless they were together at that moment in time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love hearing that. Well, you know, so you do a workshop. Tell us, you're on the front line of this. Like, what are the techniques right now that are in demand? I mean, you've got to have a good thumb on the pulse of what's hot right now in the market, just by what people are asking for and what people are attending. So tell us a little bit, unpack that a little bit for us.
Sure. Obviously, we've been doing CRISPR for the last umpteen years now, last 12, 13 years, and it's still hot. And I want to say that there's definitely been an uptick in gene editing iPSCs, and I think part of that is reflective of the NAMS initiative that's out there. Spatial biology, spatial transcriptomics, we've run a symposium with AstraZeneca for about 6 years, and it's been interesting to see that market expand, and also the influence of AI on that market as far as the analytical side of 3D cell culture, organoids. We have a 3D cell culture workshop taking place next week, a 3-day workshop, but we're also looking at other areas of organoids and 3D cell culture, organoid chip. Maybe, well, I know, for example, some research is being done as far as CRISPR and organoids, also spatial biology applications and organoids. We do a workshop, spatial transcriptomics with 10x genomics, for example. So we are monitoring that area closely. It's at a point right this second. It isn't a one size fits all application. It is a fit for purpose type of environment right now. But it's an area we're active in, and we're definitely going to continue. And then you know, some of the staples like flow cytometry. It's been around for a long time. There's been advances, the spectral flow cytometry and such, but there's so many applications in immunology and the cell and gene therapy arena. If you're working with antibodies for validation purposes, single cell, same thing again, has many applications. And we still see people constantly, you know, enrolling and taking, and it's serving a purpose. I have had numerous people over the years, as recently as just a couple months ago, somebody I met at a conference and saying, hey, thank you. I took your float workshop and it enabled me to go ahead and take a position with a company based on the skill set they were then able to bring. I saw a note, we did a search in the DMV, job announcements looking for that skill set, and there was over 500 posts of asking for flow cytometry experience, or would be preferred as such, which was an amazing number to me. I didn't think it'd be that high.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that from the recruiting side as well. There's a lot and a lot of demand for flow and a lot of jobs. I think, and it's interesting you bring up the organoid. I mean, this is a hotbed for that. We've got a lot of companies working on things like, the organoid chip and organoids. Frederick National Labs just won a huge government contract to advance organoid
Yep.
research. So that's got to be a really, especially being right here in Maryland.
I'm already talking with them. We were just they ran a nice event a couple of weeks ago on reproducibility, and that, which is always it's something I'm very passionate about, as you know. Rigor reproducibility, cell line authentication, cross contamination, mycoplasma testing, things along those lines. And it was they brought in experts from around the country. But I did focus specifically on the organoid aspects, and I had spoken to those the individuals about the initiative. You have SOM, which is the center, and then you have all these extraneous organizations involved. And I told them that where we're at now reminded me of where stem cell research was back in 2012, 2013. You might be aware, we worked with the director for the Center for Regenerative Medicine, Dr. Mahendra Rao, and developed with his staff numerous iPSC-related workshops to train NIH scientists. And it was close to 100 scientists went through these programs. So one was neural, one was hepatocytes, one was cardiomyocytes, various different iPSC workshops. But the idea was to do the base training, but also to put together a repository of reference material, from protocols to recommended reagents to other resources, all in a specific area. And then those opened up to the scientific community. And then the collaborations with private industry, working with government. And I feel there are some similarities that are happening here when I'm seeing at Frederick National Labs with this whole SOM NAMS initiative. And again, the workshop we have next week, we're going to see some people from SOM taking the workshop.
That's great. So does that happen, Mark? Do you have people that come out, reach out to you, experts in the field, that are like, they know you are a Paragon organization, for training, and they say, hey, Mark, this is we're seeing more and more demand in this. Can you put together, or can we work with you to put together something? It sounds like that happened with Dr. Rao. Is that something you see from time to time? I know you work closely with, in the transcriptomics space as well, around staying on the forefront of that. Do your instructors bring that kind of constant, kind of like, hey, this is the next thing that we got to do?
I've got a core of 15 or 20 who they'll send me notes and say, hey, we're seeing interest in this specific area. And we're also obviously monitoring the environment, the papers that are being published, where research is going. And that's really a tricky area. One example I like to bring up, I guess it was in the mid-90s-ish, we did a nanotechnology in medicine workshop. And the first time we offered it, 10, 12 scientists, they were all regulatory. And one comes up to me and said, Mark, I know I need to be here, but I don't know why. We didn't start seeing the research scientists until about 4, 5, 6 years later, because the environment had to go ahead and develop. We'll have organizations come to us. 2024, we did 2 or 3 workshops for Kelly Government Services. They were interested in adding a benefit to their existing client, the government worker, and they polled them and say, what are you interested in? And they contracted with us to go ahead and do it. So we did a bioinformatics workshop over a weekend for them. We also did a CRISPR workshop for them. We've had companies approach us and they, we trained, we did something through another mechanism at the college. We did a 2 or 3 day quality 101 and 102 for the entire company. And that was some 100 employees. We're well versed in contracting with different organizations. We've done all the major biopharmas, all the government agencies, different academic research institutions. I always tell people, if you don't see something in our repertoire online, ask us. We know enough people to go ahead and sit down and work with you, drill down to exactly what you want, and make sure we hit those deliverables.
That's incredible. Well, I love that, Mark. And again, it shows how you keep the organization at the forefront. So, part of being there at Montgomery College, what I've noticed out of you and just being friends over the years is, you go well above and beyond BioTRAC. You're like the mayor of Montgomery College sometimes, I think. Like, I know that's not an official position. I don't want to put more work on your plate, but you do the symposiums beyond and there's a lot of other things that you do to make sure that you're building a community around Montgomery College, not just
Sure.
around BioTrack. And I want to give you time to talk about some of the things that you do and that you've been proud of about the other initiatives outside of just the biotech program. So can you tell us some of those other things that you do to make sure that BioTrack or that BioTrack and Montgomery College in general is the kind of epicenter place for learning and workforce?
Sure, absolutely. Aside from our program, which I am enormously proud of, just for the consistency, the length of time that we've done this, the quality that we bring. Being at the college has given me flexibility to do other outreach type initiatives. They've been extremely supportive. For example, we host the Maryland Science Olympiad. We've done that for the last 6-7 years, in which we open up the college, and we'll have 400, 450 high school students come out to compete, usually anywhere from 32 to 36 different high schools. It's a high energy event, something we feel is important. It supports the scientific community. We do those MC Biotech Symposium days, in which we'll have a company or an organization come out, and these are usually once a month. We're taking a hiatus right now during the summer, but it'll kick back up again in the fall. You can find out further information on that if you follow me on LinkedIn regarding that. But we have companies come out, and they'll bring field application scientists and area researchers to talk about an initiative. These are free events, are open to the scientific community. You have to register for them so the company knows what to expect. Also, providing lunch and such. But a lot of these symposiums also have demonstrations in the back of the main conference room, and we can handle. General rule, some of these events are maybe 40 to 100 scientists. It varies from event to event. Probably one of the things I'm most proud of, and it was one of those I just couldn't sit by and do nothing events. In 2025, I created a networking / job fair event for recently displaced federal research scientists. Having been at the NIH for 30 years, I have an allegiance and a strong respect for the work that is done there. And I was able to reach out to area biopharmas, to my contacts and such, and we had 10 to 15 companies participate, in which we had, between these two events in 2025, we had over 250 scientists come on out, and they were able to hear about these different companies, interact with HR. They had their CVs reviewed, because the transition from going from a academic research institution to private industry, that CV looks entirely different, as you well know. So each one was able to be reviewed, and headshots were taken, and this was all no charge, but they needed to be seen and heard and appreciated. And that is those are two events I was extremely proud of doing. And we look for other ways to help the scientific community. We feel it's important. It's all about getting people together, exchange of information. You never know where things are going to lead to.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I came to both of those. Was it 2 or 3 that you did?
Oh, we did two.
2, yeah. And it was great. I mean, the feedback that you heard from people in attendance, and you had people at all levels that were just for the first time trying to figure out where their path is going to take them. And
Sure.
and I also want to just mention a lot of the companies you brought. I mean, they were very open to, like, there was a lot of education happening. Like, here's what
Oh,
to
yeah.
expect in a career in industry. Here's what we look for. There was so I also want to commend your network within the biotech industry and with these companies, because they were coming out with, that same type of mindset that you had. Like, we got to help. We got to help this group of people.
Yeah, rally the troops.
Rally the troops, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, as we close up here, I guess what else would you want people to know about Montgomery College, BEC, just in general, the ecosystem that you fostered and are a part of there here in the county?
I always tell people Montgomery College, the Germantown campus, the Bioscience Education Center is a unicorn. There is nothing like it. And bear with me a sec as I lead you through. We have an early college program in which juniors and seniors from Montgomery County Public Schools can come out here and take college courses while they take their high school program. And when they graduate high school, they also have an AS degree in biotech. The credit program, the 2-year program, there is a strong collaboration between area biopharma, so Millipore Sigma, AstraZeneca, GSK, Charles River Lab, all the area biopharmas. They have had influence on the curriculum that is given in that program. That program is sort of a flip. Yes, you get the theory, you get the background information, but there is an extraordinary amount of emphasis on hands-on. So for example, there is 12 weeks, they're growing mammalian cells in cell culture. They're learning aseptic technique, proper GMP, CMGP practices, testing for mycoplasma, cell line authentication, the proper way of doing it, record keeping. So again, and then they do upstream, and then they go into the downstream suite, which has 4 industry grade ACTA FPLCs for protein purification. They are learning the proper way from gowning to aseptic technique to downstream processes. So when they leave there with that 2-year degree, they're getting snatched up by area biopharma. We have over 450 some graduates working in the DMV life sciences out of that program. It's a phenomenal program. Then there's a certificate program. There's one in biotechnology, one in biomanufacturing, one in cell and gene therapy. And usually those who had come back who already have a 4-year degree, already have a master's, in some case a PhD, but they just didn't get the hands-on experience that we offer here at the college. And then we have BioTrain, which is a initiative for incumbent workers, those working in the sciences and area, that offer short workshops on, say, quality 1 and 102, or bringing a drug to market. These are short workshops. They are free. They are sponsored by an EARN grant through the state of Maryland. They also, the BioTrain is doing a boot camp, which is another initiative under that umbrella. And then there's us training the MDs, PhDs on the cutting edge. We're where research scientists go to get trained.
I picture you mentioned a unicorn, but that's like a nice rainbow of different skills. So we're painting a very magical world here at the end, Mark. But from end to end, Montgomery College has something, whether, you're first entering the field as early career student, to whether you're a PhD scientist and you need to upskill for the latest techniques. And I think your point, it really is a unicorn.
I agree. And I forgot one other program. We have a 3-year apprenticeship program that is a Maryland state-sponsored apprenticeship program. So the college has gone through all the hoops to get this through. There's nothing like it in the state. And it's a 3-year program with AstraZeneca and Charles River's lab. And now that all of the paperwork and making things fit so it's approved has been done, there are other companies now looking at this again, feeding that workforce. And what a great way to go. 3 years, your college will be paid for. You're earning money and on-the-job training with reputable biopharmas in the area. Yeah, I mean, biotech is a career, and that really needs to be emphasized. Graduates are going to start 55, 60K a year, and then area biopharmas are chipping in 10K a year for continuing education through a master's. So if you do it right, you could be debt free, you'll be making, if you're good, in 6 years, you'll be making six figures easy. Um, if you're good, if you put the effort in, if you advance. But with the college, we give the foundation.
That's great. Well, I appreciate everything you do, Mark. I've known you for a long time, and you're one of the hardest working guys I know. And you do it because you got the right heart, and you really want to see people succeed. And what an incredible legacy, what an incredible ecosystem you've built. Between 19,000 plus scientists and the whole community you serve. I mean, so kudos to you and the legacy that you continue to live on. So I appreciate the opportunity to work with you on a regular basis and support the stuff you do. And I'm glad we could talk today and share with others some of the things that really you're doing that some might not know about. A lot of them probably do, but I encourage everybody, if you are thinking of upskilling at any corner of your company, or if you're an individual watching this, check out Montgomery College, check out BioTRAC. It really does give you a leg up, and it's not just the education; it's the community, as you heard from Mark. I mean, they're tied into almost every biotech in the area. So it's a great place to be for your career. Mark, any closing thoughts?
Yes, if you're working with cell lines, make sure you're testing for mycoplasma. I'm always amazed, and I query our attendees, and only about 20 to 30% of them, and they're usually in the biopharma space, are doing it. So especially if you're doing any sort of gene editing work and such, because you can't see it, it's in there, and it'll affect your results. It's all about rigor and reproducibility.
Always teaching. I love it.
Chris, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. And again, kudos to you and BioBuzz and what you bring to the area of biotech. And I love that you're branching out to Philly and RTP and other areas. And it's been an amazing story to watch. And you're a good novel. You don't know the ending yet, but it's a page turner.
Thank you. No one's ever told me I'm a novel before, but I love it. It's a great analogy. I'm excited for the next chapter and the next page too. So I'm on the edge of my seat, just like everyone else. Well, the next chapter for us, just so anybody watching, I do want to say, and I'm very excited to announce that we do have a brand new platform that's live this week. We really soft launched it. We have a small initial community that signed up for it, and with your new membership in BioBuzz, which is fully free, we give you access to over 11,000 jobs updated daily, real validated jobs with biotech and life science employers only, curated from over 340 Maryland companies. And we're adding new companies every week. With your profile, you get personalized access to all the events that we curate around the region, and then stories like this sent to your feed, like we're talking today with Mark, as well as the latest update from the articles we publish and we curate each and every week. So we're very excited about this new platform. It's the launch. We're going to have a lot more stuff coming to it, but we're launching here in Maryland thanks to a partnership we have and some support we got from Maryland's TEDCO. But we will be expanding and adding Philadelphia and the Pennsylvania market and North Carolina market very soon, as well as Virginia. We should have about 3,500 companies in the platform by the end of the year throughout the East Coast. So for your career, we'll be personalizing the matchmaking to jobs and also personalized matchmaking to the opportunities to train and upskill like Mark provides. So what we're telling people is we want to be the front door to your biotech career. And we hope that you'll come knock on the door and join and check it out. So biobuzz.io for anybody interested. And lastly, please join us again in a couple weeks. Mark, we have a company I know you're familiar with that we've worked with, that you've worked with before, Agilent Technologies.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a whole week for Agilent Week, and we've got a couple podcasts and a bunch of announcements coming out. So the last week of the month of July, we're dedicating fully to all about Agilent. So I know you've worked with them in the past. They're an absolutely fantastic company, a equipment provider, tools provider that's common almost every lab, and if you're in a biotech industry, a company. So tune in in the last week of July for Agilent Week. You heard it here first. So with that, thank you all, Mark. I will let you get back to training more students, and hopefully you got a couple more people in your inbox here inquiring about next week's seminar. Thank you again, and thank you all for tuning in to What's the Buzz. Enjoy the rest of your day.